It's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. If everybody could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. So our new board members have been sworn in, but if you could please introduce yourselves, I think that would be great for people watching.
Me, all right, I'm Carl Madzino from Peterborough.
Thank you.
John Wood from Dublin.
Welcome.
Kat Folking from Antrim.
And we have one more board rep who is absent tonight due to illness. So we'll move on to call for the election of officers. So a motion for our chair.
I move that we nominate Mike Hoyt as chair of the Kentucky Valley School Board.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, we need to do this by roll call, so if people could say their name and their vote for Mike Hoyt for chair. And we'll start with Tom.
John Wood, yay. Greg K, yay.
Carl Madzino, yay.
Dan Harper, yay.
Curtis Hamilton, yay.
Kat Folking, yay.
Tom Burgess, yay.
Jim Kingston, yay.
Great,
Jim Frederick,
yay. Thanks, Jim. And I will turn it over to our new chair.
All right, at this point, I would like a motion for nomination for vice chair.
It is my pleasure to make a motion to nominate Curtis Hamilton as vice chair of the board.
Second.
Okay, again, we have to have a roll call vote because Jim is online. So all the votes tonight by our policy have to be roll call votes. So,
John Wood, yay. Greg Kriebel, yay.
Carl Madzino, yay.
Dan Harper, yay.
Curtis Hamilton, abstain.
Mike Hoyt, yay.
Kat Folking, yay.
Tom Burgess, yay.
Jim Kingston, yay.
Jim Frederick, yay.
Congratulations. Okay, at this point, we'll turn it over to Superintendent for points of pride.
Okay, I know Chris Hyder is here. Chris, do you want to come up to any of the team members? Okay. So our point of pride, we had thought a couple of the students could come tonight, but they were not able to. And you might have seen in the paper, but we had a team that competed in the Granite State College challenge, or not college, sorry, Granite State Challenge. And they won the first round. So I thought I'd show a couple clips, and then we'd love to hear like how they prepared. And so the first one is just them introducing themselves so you can see them.
We've got two new teams with us this week who are back the team who advanced to the second round. Let's introduce them to you. First up, we have the team from Palmdale Regional High School. Hi, Lucas, I'm a senior. I'm a junior. I am Lee, I'm a junior. Also a junior. The team is coached by social studies teachers Eric Bowman and Chris Hyder, and that's the team from Palmdale Regional High School.
And then the other clip is they went into the final round with a tie, and they went right up to the buzzer. So. Oh, sorry. I went to the wrong tab.
To get ready for round 4. So in round 4, we're going to pick back up with our toss-up questions, but we're going to double the point value to 20 points, so 20-point toss-up questions, but we will be deducting 20 points for incorrect responses. So a lot can change in Con Val National South. It's a close game. Good luck to both teams, and let's go. If you are using the formula C equals 2 pi r, what is the C you are trying to calculate? Calvin, National South. Yes. Until she was surpassed by Bobby Lane, this dancer was the most followed content creator on TikTok. Lucas Cromwell, Charmin. Yes. Fulgurites are natural to diffuse silica that form when this strikes sand. Albert, National South. Yes. Chief, what is the name of the narrator of the Harper Lee novel To Kill a Mockingbird? Ben Conda. Stab is right. This director and producer was a master of the horror genre. He wrote and directed the first Nightmare on Elm Street film and directed films like People Under the Stairs and The Hills Have Eyes. If you want to take a shot on West to Raven, our next question is our Unitil Power question. It's double the point, so a 40-point toss-up coming to you on your mind. Take a look. In the novel 1984, this update, the object of power is power. Calvin, National South, correct. Criminal proceedings that tried high-ranking Nazi officials for war crimes and for invading sovereign countries were held in this German city from November 1945 to October 1946. Lucas Oconda, that's right. Dixville Notch in Coos County and Park's location in Carroll County have taken advantage of a state law that allows towns with a population of under 100 residents to do this at midnight. Remy Oconda, vote is right. Once known as Idlewild Airport, this airport in Queens, New York was renamed this in 1963. Ben Oconda, JFK is right. And again, and with a very late response, Oconda, congratulations, with moving on to the next round.
And then next round is April 17th? Yeah. Oh. Okay. So do you want to, I was hoping we'd hear a little bit about how the students prepare for this and how they prepared for the quarterfinals too.
So they prepare for
There we go. Thank you. So we start preparing in the fall for it. It's part of History Club that Mr. Bowman, Eric Bowman, and I run. And so we do trivia all throughout the year. But in the fall, our main focus is to qualify for Granite State Challenge. There is a qualifying test that we have to do that schools all around the state come to take. Only 16 teams qualify to be on the show. And there are 2 teams, like wild card teams, like play-in teams, that can compete that will be online only. This year, we actually didn't qualify. But there was a late dropout by one of those wild card teams, and we were the first ones out. We were actually the 17th team, and they asked us if we would want to compete on the play-in, and we did, and we won that. We beat actually Nashua North, and then that round we went on to Nashua South. So the students prepare a lot by watching old shows, by us doing trivia from different areas. They're big on New Hampshire history on the show, so we do a lot with New Hampshire history. Just kind of general trivia that way.
Thank you. Anybody have questions? Well, I'm looking forward to April 17th.
Yeah.
Thank
be
you.
good.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have approval of the manifests.
I certify that the manifest listed below totaling $2,110,772.11 has been reviewed by me and found to be proper charges against Kentucky Valley School District for goods and or services received and have been properly processed prior to their submittal to the school board.
Second.
Okay, now vote.
John Wood, yay. Greg Kribel, yay.
Carl Mazzino abstain.
Dan Harper, yay.
Curtis Hamilton, yay.
Kat Folking, yay.
Tom Burgess, yay.
Jim Kingston, yay.
At this point, we move down to public comment. Every meeting. The board does not answer questions or comment on whatever's spoken about, but it's for us to hear what the public has to say. So please, when you come forward, we do have to have information for the minutes. So please state your name and the town that you're from, and make sure that the little green button is on the microphone. Go ahead.
My name is Erin Pills Martin. I am from Antrim. And I wanted to collect my thoughts ahead of time, so please excuse me. I'm going to read what I wrote on my phone. It has been my sincere pleasure to work with the school board for the last year and a half as a representative for the town of Antrim. And I do hope to serve as an Antrim school board representative again in the future. I think it's important, and so I will continue attending meetings as a member of the public just so that I can keep up with what's happening. For now, I have some questions for all of you, and I understand you're not going to answer them. I'm just posing them to you as a thought. What I wanted to ask is, how many school events have you attended in the last year? How many students and teachers have you interacted with outside of the school board meetings? For this next year, I have a challenge for all of you. As members of our district school board, you help direct and build the futures of one of our community's most important treasures, our students. In this next year, I challenge all of you to step in, to participate in our school communities, to meet our teachers, to interact with our students, to visit our classrooms, to see our sporting events and our music performances, and to see the amazing work that is happening inside of our schools. Thank you very much for being able to work with you, and I hope I can join you again in the near future.
Betsy Valome Hancock. I just wanted to give Amy Rushford at the high school a shout out. She helped me try to coordinate childcare for part 2 of town meeting last Saturday in Hancock. She got teenagers interested in providing that service, and those young ladies showed up right on time and enthusiastic on Saturday morning, and we're looking forward to it. Unfortunately, none of the parents in town took advantage of it, but 2 of them did come over to the meeting for an hour to observe. I said, you know, if no one's there, come over, and I think you'll find it at least informative, if not downright entertaining. And they did. So at least there was an educational win there for them as well, I hope. But I did want Amy's supervisors and bosses to understand that she helped me get that going and put it together. And I appreciate it.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say welcome to the new board members. There's some different faces from when I was here at the last meeting, so welcome to every one of you. I am here again in support of Brad Davis as the head coach of Conval football. I looked up what it means to be a coach. In short, this is what I found, and it doesn't even begin to cover it. Sports coaches assist athletes in developing to their full potential. It is a very difficult task and requires a very special person. Brad Davis is this person. A coach is also responsible for the guidance of the athlete in life and their chosen sport. They are responsible for training athletes in a sport by analyzing their performances, instructing relevant skills, assisting them to prepare training programs, communicating effectively with athletes, assisting athletes to develop new skills, providing encouragement, and using evaluation tests to monitor training progress. Brad does all of this and more. As you can see, we have many student athletes here tonight. Teens aren't really big fans of meetings like this, and frankly, most adults aren't either. However, these athletes have been personally impacted by Brad's coaching. I live with one of these athletes. Brad's belief in these kids and the opportunities he creates for them are too numerous to talk about in 2 minutes. Brad is an exemplary coach who puts the students and Conval football first. What more could we possibly ask for? Brad has been the assistant coach with varsity football for 3 years. He has also revived the dying middle school football program to develop young players because he knows football is more than a game. To be passed over as head coach is wrong. The board has heard from the community that elected them. Brad Davis deserves and has earned the right to lead Conval football into its best chapter yet. Thank you.
Michael Gonzalez, Peterborough. Would just like to say welcome as well to the new board members. I completely forgot that the election even happened. Congratulations to you all. But I'm also here to talk about Coach Brad Davis and the denial of him being able to lead our football program into the future. I'd like to say I have been a member of the Conval football team my full 3 years in high school. I'm a junior. Varsity all 3 years, played under Coach Davis on both varsity and JV. And I'm here to say that he's probably the best football coach you could ask for. I've played football for 6 years, and I've had 4 different head coaches in that time span. So I have a good idea of what a good coach and a bad coach looks like. There's kids that only went to school to play football. There's kids that only tried in school to play football. Coach Davis brought a mentality to the team called one team, one family. And that drove us to succeed and play for each other. Coach Davis brought a football mindset that we were able to apply to our everyday lives. Coach Davis revived a youth program here at Conval, starting with youth clinics and reviving the middle school team. Coach Davis organized 7-on-7 games with neighboring schools, as is Keene and Concord. We were able to take advantage of Coach Davis's relations with former Conval athletes as we were able to go down to Rhode Island and Providence and have a weekend to work with another high school football team. Coach Davis would use his own money to buy us football equipment. Coach Davis pushed the Conval football family idea and led the program out of what was a very, very dark time. The program has gained momentum over the last few years, and Coach Davis is hoping to be able to continue that onto the future. He's a Conval Hall of Famer. He's on the wall in our school. Coach Davis bleeds blue and gold and should be our next head coach. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Zach Bloom. I'm from Peterborough. I'm here tonight speaking in favor of Brad Davis as Conval's next head coach. I haven't gotten to know Brad personally, and what I've heard is he's a great guy and a better coach. I have been coaching with the middle school the past 2 years, and I've been able to see how good of a coach he can be. He has also helped the middle school program several times that I've coached, staying late after practices to help coach up the kids. As for him to be the next head coach of Conval football, I believe he greatly deserves it. Conval football has been on the up and up the past few years, having a better record than the past years I've seen since I moved here to New Hampshire. Thanks to Coach Harris and Brad Davis, Conval has been able to improve as a program. A football program needs continuality at the head coaching position. Conval needs a coach that has experience with the program to help it grow. These players love Coach Davis, and I truly believe it is in the best interest to have Brad as the next head coach at Conval football. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Heather Wilson. I sent you all, well, some of you maybe not now, because we just had elections, but I sent the board an email in regards to Coach Davis. I've been in this district for a very long time. I've had 2 kids graduate from Conval. One of them played 2 sports, and I have another one graduating this year. This football program in the last 3 years, so really nervous. This football program in the last 3 years has gone from a really bad program to a really amazing program. A lot of that is in due part to Brad Davis. One of the questions that I would like to ask, that I did ask in my email, is he's been the assistant coach for the last 3 years. As an assistant coach, is it the SAU's, the board, responsibility to vote and approve that position? And if so, why would he be good enough to be a like an assistant, but he's not good enough to be a head coach? I think if he's not a head coach, you're not doing a service to the athletes that are part of this program. It is a huge disservice to the program and to the athletes themselves. They all trust him. They all respect him immensely. The parents respect him immensely. And I think that you all should really think about this and look at it again if you can. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Roman Cadwallader from Francistown. I'm a current senior, and I'm here in support of Brad Davis as the next head football coach at Conval. I've played football at Conval for for 3 years, and I've been playing football my whole life for probably 10 years. And I've never had more respect for anybody on the football field than Brad Davis. He has helped me grow as an individual and as a football player, and I've seen the growth of everybody around me, and I don't really see a better candidate for the position than Brad Davis. He has lived, breathed, and bled Conval football. He played here when he was younger, and he is continuing to try to support and raise the next generation of people graduating from Conval, and he's trying to do a good thing for the community, and he's been denied that opportunity. I really think that he's the next great thing for this program. He will have consistency, and he knows the way around. He knows everybody on the team already. There'd be no mysterious faces for these young guys trying to come up, trying to play football when it's a scary, like it could be a scary place, but there's already a familiar face. I really think that he's the next good option, and I think you guys should think deeply about your decision because this is make or break for the football program, I believe. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Tim Selby from Dublin. I have the pleasure of being Waytu's father. Waytu has been with us for about 9 years since he immigrated from the Congo. And we can all speak about Brad's talents as a coach, but I think that everybody needs to understand that, like, from a perspective of a parent, we want what's best for our kids no matter what. And Brad is, since Waytu knew him, playing summers at Greenfield, Brad's just been there. He's been a great guide, and he's been a leader for Waytu. He's been someone that Waytu can look up to and learn from. And it's just important to I think see what that brings to the table. And I think we'd be sorely wrong to not have him as the head coach of the program moving forward. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak?
Good evening. I'm Rachel Cadwalder from Francistown, and we are new to the district the last 4 years. I did send an email as well to the school board, just kind of stating my case for Brad Davis. I have 2 boys. My son Roman is a senior this year that have been under the on the football team with Brad Davis, and on and off the field, I don't understand. You can't find anyone better that's going to lead this next generation of young men. As a mom, I'm not on the football field all the time, but I see, and we only see the surface level of what he puts into that program. I'm speaking of Brad Davis. The time, the commitment, the care, the genuine care that he has for our children, both of my children. I mean, he's the one I have one son that graduated last year. He had different injuries over the year, his football season. Brad was there. Brad was calling, asking how he was doing. There was a day he had migraines at practice, couldn't drive home until he got through there. Who stayed with him? That was Brad Davis. It's not just on the football field. He cares about these kids outside. He takes them in. My kids look up to him. If anything were to ever happen, I mean, he's the one they're going to call. I don't understand. I don't understand, and I can't say enough good things about Brad Davis, what he's done for my children personally, and I can only imagine what he's done for the rest of our community as well. So I would urge you to reconsider the decision and give him a chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, thank you very much for your input. Our student representative is not here tonight, Ryan Whitney. Do we have a teacher representative?
I don't see a teacher representative. Oh, sorry. Yes, I did. You are high. You are being blocked. I'm sorry. We have Shannon Dunning, Tammy Abar, both from PES.
And Charlie.
And Charlie.
We just wanted to highlight some of the some of the fun, exciting things that have been happening at the elementary school. We just finished our week-long residency.
Can you talk into the microphone? I'm sorry.
I know. We just finished our week-long residency with NHDI. We have a special visitor last Friday at our all-school assembly. It was the Swamp Bats mascot, Ribby. So any student that wants to participate can participate in reading with Ribby. In June, they'll be able to attend a Swamp Bats game with their family. We are, as teachers, getting ready to highlight academics and our student learning in a celebration of learning evening. And we're also, as a school, going to participate in a National Walking Day in April. We're going to have our older students pair up with our younger students, including our preschool, and spend some time outside walking as a group. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming in. And thanks, Charlie. All right, we're down to our consent agenda, acceptance of the board minutes and personnel. Superintendent? Any questions on the consent agenda items? Jim?
Yeah, so there's a position, I'm just interested in the what the definition of the position is on the, it's not that I have any problem with it, I'm just looking for a definition, and that is the technical director.
Should have been in the board packet, right?
Did you not get, it's the technology specialist. Was it not in the packet?
No, the fall technical director.
Oh, in the-
Stipend position for co-curriculars. What is it? What is a technical director? Sorry.
Heather, can you share information about that? Or Larry? I'm wondering if it's related to theater.
Can we actually back up real quick, Jim, if that's okay?
Sure.
To the meeting minutes. So last week, our last board meeting, Jim Frederickson wrote a written letter in response to a letter that was written to the Monadnock Ledger, and he read it, but it's not part of the minutes. And because it was a written, not ad hoc, and the policy for the school board does not state whether it is or is not included in the minutes. When in previous board meetings, when a individual handed out something to the board, that would be included in the minutes. And I'd like to request that that letter that he read out loud be added to the minutes.
Okay, thank you. All right, Larry's back in. We have,
Larry,
yeah, we have a question about,
Larry, the question is on the nomination for co-curricular and stipend positions, there's a position called fall technical director. What is the technical director? Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Heather?
It's the tech part, so it's like the sounds and the lights. So it's like that technical part of the directorship for the fall play.
Thank you.
Also have a question as well.
Yes.
So I noticed that in the list of names, regardless of SMS, GBS, or CVHS, it denotes 1 FTE and half FTEs, but it doesn't seem like there's a standard in pay based on the amount of FTE. Is there a pay salary document that specifies, you know, that baseball gets an X amount as an FTE based on the number of hours versus garden club that gets half the same amount as baseball, as an example?
In the previous agreement with the CVEA, there were some identified amounts for specific athletics and co-curriculars, I believe. But it's not an all-inclusive list. So there is, when they're determining the salary, they look at how long it meets, how frequently it meets. And so it takes multiple things into consideration. But the 0.5 would be that the two people are splitting the role.
I'm just concerned that there's a maybe a pay equity conversation to understand who's getting paid what for what, the amount of hours and or FTE or number of days in a week. So anyway, it was just a question. I read this and I didn't understand why, as an example, the garden club is half the pay of somebody doing, softball, or Special Olympics is half of that. So
It's often related to how often they're meeting.
I just, I guess in the future, being a new board member, it'd be helpful to understand so that I can look at it and understand that we're not putting ourselves in a weird spot for someone's getting paid less than others for the same amount of work.
I don't know if-
Curtis.
Oh, good.
In the collective bargaining agreement that was just passed, there were additions made to the stipends. And one of the contingencies upon the boards and the CBA's agreement to those increases in stipends was to set up a special committee to walk through exactly the rubric for allocating stipends in different roles. So it is something that's going to be looked at very soon.
Thank you. Any other questions about the consent agenda? Okay, with that, we'll go on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, we have Kyle from Posnick, who's going to report out on our audit. Do you need to project anything or no?
Okay. So my name is Kyle Gingras. I am a manager at Plodzik and Sanderson. We are the independent auditors of the school district's financial statements. So what we will do is kind of briefly go through the audit report and the financials, just to give you an idea of what is in there. So if you can go down to page 1 of the report, it's going to be page 4 of the PDF. So this is the independent auditor's report. This kind of summarizes the results of our audit. So the first paragraphs are the opinions. The second paragraph down states what our opinion is. So in our opinion, the financial statements fairly present the financial position of the governmental activities, each major fund, and aggregate remaining fund. So that is what you want to hear. That means that all of the numbers are materially accurate. They're correct in the financial statements. The district has complied with all of the accounting standards and regulations required for an audit report. So this is what you want in an auditor's opinion. The report also talks about basis for opinion. There was a change in accounting principle, responsibilities of management for the financial statements. And if you can go to the next page, Rob, I'll just talk quickly about it. Highlights what the auditor's responsibilities are. So management is responsible for putting all the numbers together for us. We then come in, do testing on the financials to make sure that the numbers management has prepared are correct. If we see any adjustments that are made, maybe a receivable needs to get picked up or a payable needs to get picked up, we'll propose an audit adjustment to management. But management is ultimately responsible for making all of those adjustments. To go along with that, as part of an audit, we test the balances through substantive testing, analytical procedures, stuff like that, to make sure that the numbers are accurate. We also evaluate the district's internal controls. We're not doing a full audit of the controls themselves, but we do what's called a risk-based audit. So we identify any potential risks as a result of understanding the district's controls, and if we identify any, then we perform additional procedures to make sure that those numbers are accurately stated. So that is the extent of our understanding of internal controls. Then the opinion letter also references required supplementary information. So there are additional tables at the back of the report that are required for accounting standards, as well as supplementary information. So there are a couple additional schedules, budget to actuals that we put in the report, as well as reports for the single audit. So because the school district receives and expends more than $750,000 of federal funds, you need what's called a single audit, which is a compliance audit of your federal funds. A compliance audit is different from a financial statement audit. And a compliance audit, we're testing compliance with federal rules and regulations regarding spending of federal funds. So there are some additional schedules in here that we'll go through real quickly. So going to the finance.
This is the kind of document that we should have available in front of us ahead of time before someone tries to explain it to us on microprint on the screen. So no matter what gets said tonight, I would suggest we not vote on this until this document has been presented to us and we've had a week to read it, or 2 weeks to read it. So.
The idea was to provide kind of an overview of the document and then make it available to everybody so that you could go through it. But certainly in the future, we can do the reverse. Not a problem at all.
Yeah, we're not voting on the acceptance tonight.
Yep. So if we can go to Exhibit A, which is on page 4, probably a couple more pages. Okay, so Exhibit A is the balance sheet for the government-wide financial statements. The next page is the income statement for the government-wide statements. Exhibits A and B present the financial statements for the entity as a whole, and this includes all of the school district's long-term assets and liabilities. So under the assets, we have capital assets being reported in these financial statements. Under the liabilities, we have non-current obligations. So these would include things like long-term debt, compensated absences, pension liabilities through New Hampshire Retirement System, as well as OPEB, other post-employment benefits. Accounting standards do require you on these financials to report the district's proportionate share of the New Hampshire Retirement System liabilities for pension and OPEB. So as a result, you do have large long-term liabilities, and this does also cause your total net position on the governmental activities or the government-wide statements to show as negative. That's just picking up the district's share of New Hampshire Retirement System, because New Hampshire Retirement System is in a deficit for funding its future obligations.
I'm sorry, Rob, could you, I have 20/20 vision and I can't, yes, thank you. Could you like put it to like 125%? Thanks.
So that's what we have on Exhibit A, is presenting the entity as a whole. What we'll go to next is Exhibit C1, which is 2 more pages down. So Exhibit C1 shows the governmental funds. So what we do now is break out the financial statements by individual funds. So we have the general fund, which is a major fund. We have the grants fund, which is a major fund, and the food service fund, which is a major fund. Any of the other funds of the school district are aggregated in the 4th column for other governmental, and those are considered non-major. These financial statements are more similar to a budgetary basis of accounting. They're short-term financial statements, so they don't include capital assets or long-term liabilities like debt, pension, OPEB, anything like this. So these financial statements allow you to assess the short-term financial needs of the government relative to the government-wide statements, which show you the long-term financial position of the school district. One thing I will point out, it's tough to see, but the unassigned fund balance for the general fund is $500,000. There is a note, it's note 14, which goes over, itemizes all of the individual fund balances for the district. But unassigned fund balance is typically what the board is most interested in, because that's what's available to use to reduce the tax rate. Rob, if you could go to Exhibit D1, that's going to be another 4 pages. So Exhibit D1 shows budget to actual for the general fund. So this is budgetary basis of accounting. This shows you where you are over or under for revenues, as well as expenditures for the general fund. And on the bottom, it also shows changes in unassigned fund balance from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Rob, can you go down to page 19? Yep, so this page here, top of page 19, discusses the different classifications of fund balance. The last paragraph before use of estimates talks about contingency funds. So the school district voted to retain unassigned fund balance of $384,906. So in accordance with this statute, the school district did retain the $384,000 for emergency expenditures or as a revenue source to reduce the tax rate. Just if you're looking for information on what is retained for unassigned fund balance, you can look there. Rob, if you can go to page 31, it's note 14. Okay. This just itemizes the fund balances for each of the funds. So if you want to know specifically what was retained or what was unassigned at the end of the year, this is the note to refer to. All right, Rob, can you go to page 40? 2 more pages. Okay, so we have additional schedules. So these are part of the supplementary information. This is Schedule 1. This is a more detailed breakdown of budget to actual for the school district for the year. for revenues. So if you want to know where you were over or under on revenues, this would be a good place to look. So for example, investment earnings, you had $230,000 more in investment income than you budgeted for during the year. Obviously, this reflects on interest rates during the year. But if you want to know where you were on revenues, you can refer to Schedule 1. On the next page, Schedule 2 is a budget to actual for expenditures. So again, if you want to know which functions you were over or under, you can refer to this schedule to see which areas you were over or under. And then very bottom right-hand corner, you probably can't see it, but the total is $1,010,180. That's how much you were under budget for the year. And then finally, if we go to the next page,
Can we hold just for a second, please?
Can we, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know people have gotten some alerts on their phone. There is a shelter in place on a road in Pine Ridge, the development that's right near here. We did contact the police. We heard it's contained to a road in the development. They're evacuating people on that road, but they told us it's contained, so we are okay. We did lock the doors coming in here, just to, and obviously if that changed, we would let you know.
all right. Okay, and then on the next page, Schedule 3, we can go down one more page, Rob. This shows changes in unassigned fund balance from the prior year to the end of the current year. So if you want to know what your unassigned fund balance looks like relative to the prior year, you can refer to this page. And lastly, we will go to the single audit reports, which are at the back of the report. So Rob, this is going to be on page 47. One more page. All right, so we'll go through these real quickly. This is a report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance. So this refers to the testing that we did on the federal funds to make sure that they were in compliance with federal regulations. And 2 more pages, Rob. We have an opinion on the major funds, so we have to list out all of the federal funds that the school district expended, and based on those, select major funds based on the amount of funds expended and whether they've been tested in prior years. Test those funds for compliance, and then issue this report on compliance. So in our opinion, the school district complied in all material respects with all of the compliance requirements. So that is, again, what you want for a single audit, that you complied with all regulations. And Rob, lastly, if you can go to page 51. This is a summary of the auditor's results for the single audit, or the testing of compliance with federal regulations. So no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, no audit findings reported related to the single audit.
Good job, Rob.
So, any questions on the report?
I know that's a lot of technical information through very quickly, but anyone have any questions at this point?
Yeah, and again, if you do have any questions, Rob can certainly reach out to me, and I can answer any questions if he needs me to reach out on a technical perspective or anything like that. So.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for your time.
I do have two hard copies, so if there's somebody that would prefer to look at it with a hard copy, I'm happy to lend that to you. Okay. So voting results. So overall, our budget passed by 57%. Our collective bargaining agreement passed by 62%. Money, the warrant articles that looked at putting money, if we have money at the end of the year, into trusts all passed. Dublin and Francistown, Dublin, within the town of Dublin, there was a majority to withdraw. Within Francistown, it was over 80%, 81, 82. But because the overall vote of the district was over 60% no, neither of those articles were successful. And the petition warrant cap, budget cap was also not successful. So.
Yeah, I'd like a comment on this. And while we were certainly successful in pushing the board's position and the voters voting the way the board would have liked as a whole, I think you need to look carefully at these numbers. The budget passed by 57%, but if I look at it on a town-by-town basis, there's only a plurality of the towns out there. It was 5 yes and 4 no, and if one person voted the other way in Sharon, it would have gone 4 to 5. That's going from what was 7 to 2 on a town basis last year. So we're not headed the right direction. I think we need to take that kind of information seriously, because that's the kind of thing that leads to the dissatisfaction on a town-by-town basis with the district. Similarly, I think you can look at the collective bargaining agreement. We all support our teachers and the salaries, but again, we've gone from what was an 8 to 1 last year to a 7 to 2, and that 7 to 2 was 9 votes, 5 in Bennington and 4 in Francistown, from being 5-4 on a town-by-town basis. You've got margin when you look at the individual vote count, but you don't have that when you look at the towns. Dublin and Francistown withdrawal, that's shameful. 66% of the voters object to self-determination. And the irony of that, for anyone that drives past the intersection of 101 and 202 on a Saturday morning, shouldn't be lost. Thank you.
Other comments? Dan?
I think we should look. One district, not 9 individual towns, and that's the way the vote goes, and that's how we should think of ourselves.
So being from the town,
John? Yep. Yes, please be recognized by the chair, and that way we won't get a lot of people talking at the same time.
I apologize.
Thank you. Nope, no problem.
Being from one of the towns, Dublin, and as one of the individuals that signed the petition for the feasibility study, one of my concerns moving forward, and one of the questions that I asked last board meeting as a new board member sitting out there yet not voted, is how do we fix the fractured relationship between Dublin and Francistown, Temple and Bennington, who were all targeted for an elementary school closure, and we've got to come up with what is the solution, because if I look at the vote results, not just of Articles 7 and 8 or 9, but once again, to Jim's point, the budget and conversation, I understand there's a lot of pressure, and for everybody financially. However, saying that the state isn't funding education, those funds from the state come from the taxpayers. We fund the state fund. So regardless of where the money is allocated from, we're still paying it. And I think it's important for us to figure out how we move forward from here to be able to have it to where a majority of the voters in every town, because we are a cooperative school district and not Peterborough School District or Dublin School District, we need to make sure that all of the individuals who didn't support this have a voice as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Other comments? Yes.
Thank you for your comments, John. I think we need to look at the state funding piece with a little more nuance, in that we can't just give up at the point where we acknowledge that, of course, if money comes from the state, it comes from taxpayers and businesses in New Hampshire. The root of it is in the inequitable application of that funding, and the fact that there are communities in property-rich towns that are able to raise more money with lower tax rates than in rural communities like ours, where we have to have higher tax rates, yet we still end up raising less. And that imbalance ends up putting much more pressure on our residents than in other communities throughout the state. So that's, I think, where we need to concentrate that piece of the puzzle.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to go back to something Jim said before about the town vote. It's true it changed from last year, but if you go back to over the last 10 years, it's up and down. It's not consistent that we had widespread approval and we've gradually lost that goodwill and faith and support. Some years we've had split, 5-4, like you said, very close. Other years it's been dominant. We've had a very strong support. So it's not, I don't think we can just look at the change from last year and make any assumptions based on that.
Yes.
I agree. We do need to take a careful look. I think we are taking a careful look at these numbers. It was not lost on me, certainly, as I was sitting as the votes came in to hear from Messinic, whose budget passed, Jaffrey's, whose budget passed, and they wished it hadn't passed because somebody had cut $3 million from it. So what is happening in other districts? I think we're all very aware of this. It's a challenging climate. So, but I'm certainly appreciative of the support that we did receive. Monthly events calendar.
Yes. Janine?
Your per student cost would be 50% less. So looking at it by a per student cost by town is not the correct way to consider like what your town is investing. Some towns have
I'll
more-
never understand that.
There.
Well, the adjustment schedule, the adjustment formula, number one, is set in the Articles of Agreement. And number two, it's set at a state level. And in order for us to change that, then there would have to be a vote to change, and it can be changed partially, I guess. The problem is that right now, if you followed any of the state bills that are going through, for instance, this next week, the Senate and the House are going to decide whether or not next year the freedom accounts are going to be up for anybody that feels like having them. So the limit as far as how much money a family could make to have a freedom account is going to be completely eliminated. So anyone that wants to, if that law passes, can get the money from the freedom accounts to either send their student to a different school district, send their student to a private school, or homeschool, and they still get the money from the freedom account, no matter how much money they make. John?
So Tom, the reference to apportionment is based on Articles of Agreement, Article 8, which was amended in the late 90s. And in order to have a public conversation regarding how taxes are levied across the district, I think it would be appropriate to have a future conversation about the Articles of Agreement, as they are 55, 57, 58 years old. And they've been attempted to be amended multiple times and multiple different reasons. I feel that future conversations should be, how is there a compromise amongst all 9 towns to have an agreed upon that isn't so lopsided across the board? I also think that we also need to pay attention. I'm all for special education, but the special education budget is almost equal to the general education budget. We looked at the finance audit report that was just shown that I was squeaking my eyes at. A year ago, the special education budget was 13 million. For 2025, 2026 budget that was just passed, it's going to be 17 million. And that is an unsustainable growth, and we need to find additional revenue to be able to do that. And last year, as a board, as a public comment, I asked about using private insurance to be able to pay for special education. It does allow it, and we can start looking at how we do that also as a finance tool for the parents that do or would like for that to happen. I think it would be important for us to investigate that, which would offload some of the burden to the local taxpayer.
Well, the other problem is the fact that in the past 3 years, the state funding for special ed has gone from 93% to 86% to 65%. So as costs and as the amount of students who are actually eligible for special ed is going up drastically, the state is going down drastically with the amount that they're providing us to pay for that. So,
Mike, that's a little disingenuous in that that's only for those students that are above 3x or 10x the assigned cost per student for special education. So it amounted to about a $75,000 difference in what we got this year. That's all. 75,000 out of 17 million. Now that's not nothing, but we can't blame that on the state's adjustment of their percentages. And those students that are in that 3x or 10x are precisely the students that I think John's suggestion would go to alleviate some of those costs, because some of those students have a bunch of medical care that would be covered through Medicaid or private insurance, and then we're only liable for paying the deductible up and any insurance cost, if it's covered by private insurance. That can be done.
Janine?
Are we still talking about voting results? Or are we going off topic? Jim, you were here for the whole budgeting process. So this is not the proper time for this conversation. Could we please get on with the agenda?
We were actually on the calendar.
Go
So,
ahead.
calendar. There was no on the week of, we're on the 18th. There was no communications committee this morning, but are there any meetings this week? My understanding is, do you want to talk about the
Sure.
current chairs and?
The current committees, if people wish to remain on the current committees that they're on, that's the way it will be set up. Please let me know if you wish to change and not be on one of the committees that you're currently on. The committees will meet for the first time under the chair of the committee, the person who was the chair last year. Because we'll need the agendas set and the committee scheduled. And then when the committee meets for the first time, the committee can elect a chair. The people that are new to the board, you can let me know what you would like, and I'll see if there are openings there. Otherwise, I will let you know which committee there are openings on. So, questions on that? John?
So for the calendar of events, would it be possible to incorporate or provide the calendar of all the school activities that are going to be going on as well as part of this? Do you do this every board meeting where you put the calendar of events in?
We have focused pretty exclusively on board events for this.
Okay.
Janine? Right. And there is a school board website, and these are on there also.
So the current chairs, we want to make sure that we have a committee meeting scheduled. So communications, Curtis?
Thanks. I was hoping we could schedule a communications committee meeting for next Tuesday. I would ask for input from members as to the time. Janine, if you're looking to make this meeting, would noon work rather than 9?
Yeah.
Okay. Tom, Dan, if you're coming back, does that work? Whole day shot. Would it be easier if we had an initial meeting with whoever the additional member would be? So if we met in the evening and the additional member could make it and Tom could make it, I feel like it would be important for everybody to be present at the first meeting so as to at least elect a chair and have a discussion about future times.
Okay, and what night are you talking about?
That's a good question.
There's not a school board meeting until the 1st.
I was hoping not to wait that long. Okay. Well, if evenings are better for the first meetings, to make sure that whoever the 5th person is can be there. I don't know that everybody here can make a 9 a.m. meeting. What?
25th, though, is a policy committee at night.
At 6? 3 hours? No. The initial meeting could be short.
So do it at 5.
We could do it at 5:30 on the 25th.
Then policy starts at 6, though. That would only give
Well,
you a half hour.
It could just be a means to elect a
Okay.
chair and briefly introduce ourselves and the mission and what we've been doing and then scheduling.
Okay, so communications committee at 5:30 on Tuesday, the 25th, and then policy committee at 6. And selectmen's advisory will be on that Thursday, the 27th at 7. Anything else in March? Jim, are you there?
Yeah, April 1st, I'd like to have the budget property meeting.
Okay.
5:30.
Okay, budget and property on April 1st at 5:30 with the board meeting to follow. Anything else that first week in April?
John?
Are we gonna address the, feasibility study vote by Temple that we will need to start figuring out scheduling for that for committee?
Have we gotten a letter from them?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I don't, not that I'm aware of. I mean, we know it, but I assume it's going to be a conversation at the selectmen's advisory.
So we have 60 days.
Yes,
And
we've been through it.
I understand, and I would really love for us to not wait 60 days since we've got things to do and work to be done there, so procrastination is not gonna be our friend.
Okay. Second week in April, I just want it to be our new board members. The New Hampshire School Boards Association has a workshop for new school board members. It's virtual. There is, they are doing it on the 8th of April from 5 to 7. And then they're doing it again on Thursday, the 10th, I believe at the same time. Brenda, did you get a chance? Do we have a subscription to? Okay. We're not sure if our membership includes access to this for free or if we have to pay $38. So if you are interested and able to attend one of those, will you please let us know so that if we have to register you and sign you up, we can take care of that. And if you're not brand new, but you'd still like to attend it, you are more than welcome. Just let us know. Anything else for the 7th as far as meetings? The week of the 7th? Okay, the week of April 14th, we have a board meeting scheduled for the Tuesday, the 15th at 7 p.m. And the Granite State Challenge is on that week on the 17th. Any other meetings? Do we have any others to schedule?
Selectmen's advisor would be on the 24th, right?
And Selectmen Advisory on the 24th will be at 7. Anything else for April?
Okay.
I'm not aware of any outstanding board requests right now. Yes?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
And then lastly, we have a shared drive for school board members. So I don't know, do new members need to be invited to it? Have you already been invited to it? We'll make sure you're invited to it. In this folder is a folder that I've titled 2025 School Board Orientation Resources. And in this folder, there's a copy of this year's budget. There's a copy of next year's budget. I put in a PDF that has the budget account descriptions, which gives you kind of what each of the numbers means for each budget line. And there's also the CVEA, a copy of the CVEA agreement. And I think it's the current one. I think we're getting signatures on the one that was just accepted, and I'll get that in there for people. And that is it.
Okay. Old business, second reading of policy. Janine?
Okay, so policy EECH, chemical safety and chemical hygiene plan, it was up for first reading at our meeting 2 weeks ago, and I hope that you all had a chance to read it. It is the plan for keeping toxic chemicals, dangerous chemicals, safely locked away or under school areas.
Yes, please. Yes, Carl?
Yes, I have one comment. One word bothers me. You look on the first page, second paragraph, it says hazardous substances shall mean, it has definition, and includes any substances which are ignitable. It seems to me to be much broader than you want. It says that among the characteristics which define something as being hazardous is anything that is ignitable. It's the last line under A. Yeah, those are ors. So ignitable seems to cover everything in the building. I think it's too broad. I would suggest taking that word out.
Okay, so then we would have to take this out of second read and delay it for next week in order to take a look at that.
Okay, is that what you wish to do?
We'll pull this and we'll keep it for our April 1st meeting and our people look at, because this is language that probably comes from the RSA. So we'll have to talk to them about it.
All right, thank you. All right, new business. Requests for accepting donations. We have a motion to accept the first donation.
I move that we accept the donation from the Lions Club, Bob Edwards, Keith Olwine, and Shoes That Fit, valued at $4,000, the 140 pairs of shoes for the purpose of providing new pair of shoes this spring for every student at Antrim Elementary School, and monetary donations of $500 for 40 additional pairs of shoes with gratitude.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. Again, we have to do this in roll call, so.
Janine, yes.
John Wood, yes?
Greg Gribble, yes.
Carl Manzino, yes.
Dan Harper, yes. Curtis Hamilton, yes, with gratitude.
Kat Folking, yes.
Tom Burgess, yes.
Jim Kingston, yes.
Okay.
Jim Frederickson, yes.
The next request from Graybrook. Do we have a motion?
I move to accept the donation from Richard and Janine Lesser in the amount of $900 for the purpose of providing financial assistance for families of students that cannot afford the cost of participating on the AHT trip to Washington, D.C. trip.
Second.
With gratitude.
Okay. Tom?
John Wood, yes?
Greg Gribble, yes.
Carl Manzino, yes.
Dan Harper, yes. Curtis Hamilton, yes.
Kat Folking, yes.
Tom Burgess, yay.
Jim Kingston, yay.
Okay.
Jim Frederickson, yes.
The next one from Graybrook. We have a motion.
I move that we accept the donation of $667 for the purpose of the 2025 Washington DC trip from the Antrim Historical Society.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Tom?
John Wood, yay.
Greg Gribble, yay.
Carl Mabzino, yes.
Dan Harper, yes. Curtis Hamilton, yes.
Kat Folking, yes.
Tom Burgess, yes.
Jim Kingston, yes.
Jim Ferguson, yes.
Okay, number 4, we have a motion.
I move that we accept a donation from the James A. Tuttle Library in Antrim for $667 for the purpose of a partial sponsor of the 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C.
Second?
Second, with gratitude.
Okay,
Janine, yes.
John Wood, yay.
Greg Gribble, yes.
Carl Mabzino, yes.
Dan Harper, yes. Curtis Hamilton, yes.
Kat Folking, yes.
Tom Burgess, yay.
Jim Kingston, yay.
and
Ferguson, yes.
number 5.
I move that we accept a check for the amount of $667 from the Antrim Bennington Lions Club for the purpose of partially funding students to attend the Washington DC trip for 8th grade students with gratitude.
Second.
Okay, go ahead.
Janine, yes.
John Wood, yay.
Greg, yes.
Carl Mabzino, yes.
Dan Harper, yes. Curtis Hamilton, yes.
Kat Folking, yes.
Tom Burgess, yay.
Jim Kingston, yay.
All right, thank you. Sorry. Okay, we've already talked about school board committees, so we go down to expense and encumbrance report.
Yes, in your packet, you will see a expense and encumbrance report listed by object. This month, there's going to be, this falls in line with also with our budget transfer request. There are a few lines that have grown very, very large in the negative because of encumbrances. So the first budget transfer request I'm going to make this year is going to address student services, professionals contracted student services in the 323 object, and also special ed transportation in the 519 object. These will be offset by vacant position salaries and health insurance benefits. In addition, I'm going to also request a transfer for overtime salaries in the facilities department. I think last year there was a change in staffing where we were able to hire 2 custodians in-house in exchange for contracted services for custodians. So the overtime line is overspent, and we're going to move some money from contracted services and facilities.
Okay. All right, we have to take them one at a time. So the expense and encumbrance report.
I move that we approve the expense and becomes report and all accounts included therein.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, questions? Yes.
I understand the logic of taking one at a time, but if you look at these 2 reports, they are completely inconsistent with each other, and although their dates are about a month apart, I don't know if you could explain why it is that the footnotes that indicate where the budget transfers will be required and requested do not align with the actual budget transfer request dated 2 days from now, or might be dated tomorrow.
So typically, the expense and encumbrance report is goes to the end of a month. So these are as of February 28th, whereas the budget transfers that we looked at in our budget, the object doesn't really tell the whole story because there's also function codes. So even though the numbers don't match between the report and the request, the current numbers in the accounting software system, as of when I made the report, those are the numbers that are currently expended.
Other questions?
They seem to have changed a great deal in 1 month.
They do. All right, let's call for a vote on that then.
So you want questions? I'm fine with the encumbrance report. Are we-
Yeah, we're gonna,
we'll
because
address
they're on the
budget
agenda
transfers.
separately, we have to take
Perfect.
them separately. Expense and encumbrance report.
John Wood, yay.
Greg, yes.
Carl Mazzino, yes.
Dan Harper, yes. Curtis Hamilton, yes.
Cat Folking, yes.
Tom Burgess, yay.
Jim Kingston, yay.
Okay, now down to the budget transfers.
Kevin Frederickson, yes.
Hang on.
Last
Oh, yeah.
Jim,
Yeah, so
well, we need a separate motion for this, so.
I move that we approve the budget transfers as requested.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Now, Jim,
yeah. So, yeah, we have to do this clearly. But it's very disturbing to see us miss a budget number by 50%. The district special education pupil transportation was budgeted, from my go-through of this year's budget, a little over $1 million. We're transferring $500,000 and more into that line. That's a 50% miss. So I have to ask, how many students serviced, total number of trips, what are the driver hours or the miles associated with those trips? How do we get a $500,000 miss on this kind of thing?
Janine?
I can't give you that information, but I will tell you that I have heard from several school board members across the state that they are struggling with the same issue. That those transportation costs, the special education transportation costs, have for some reason skyrocketed. I'm not sure what the reason is though, but it's not just this district.
But we can get that information, so.
Yeah, I'd like to see how that breaks down. I feel like we're over a barrel with transportation in general. You've heard my complaints on transportation. I don't think I need to reiterate them all. But I need something to run numbers with to say, this is, is this ridiculous, right?
Yep.
I don't know until I understand some of those figures that I just asked for.
And I will tell you from experience that out-of-district student special ed transportation, number one, is about as volatile an area as you can possibly get. And number two, it's probably one of the more expensive areas that you can possibly get. But I know a lot of districts are starting to try to look at getting together to have combined transportation to similar areas. And that's something that I'm not sure we do, that we can, or we should start looking at.
We are looking at that, and we have tried to do it where we can. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, we worked with the regional transportation manager who is able to access like other terminal resources, and we've tried to do that whenever possible.
Okay.
So can you, Jim, can you please repeat exactly what it is you're looking for? Make sure
Yes, so I really need a justification. I know that's what we're being charged, but how do we get to that number, right? Is it how many students have been serviced by this extra $500,000? What are the total number of trips that have been made? How many driver hours are involved in that? How many miles are involved in that? If we're being charged $1,000 a mile, we got a problem, right? And
Yes, Carl.
Yeah, in support of Jim's concern, I'd point out that that particular line you're talking about more than doubled in the last month, according to these two charts.
Okay.
Can you clarify what line item you're referring to that doubled
519.
object?
yeah, Carl, you need to go into the more detailed budget, which is in the orientation package. And if you look in there, you'll actually see the 2722 519, the 2722 being for the special education transportation. It's not in, you won't find it in any of the paper that's in front of you, but in the Google Drive, there is this year's budget, which has those line items in it.
You'll
And when
separate
you
it
look at
out.
that, you'll see a little over a million, what I say, 1,049,000. So, you know, yeah.
Okay. Staffing justification.
Ben was not able to be here tonight because he's out, he's ill, so I'm gonna postpone that until the next time, so he can
No,
share his.
it is what it is. I'm not questioning that we
We
have to
don't-
do the transfer. I just want information about why it cost us that much.
Sorry, I heard justification. I thought you were jumping to the
No.
justification, so I apologize. I jumped ahead.
Okay. All right, Tom?
John Wood, yay.
Greg, yay.
Carl Mabzine, all abstain.
Dan Harper, yes. Curtis Hamilton, yes.
Cat Fulton, yes.
Tom Burgess, yay.
Jim Kingston, yay.
Okay.
Jim Ferguson, yes.
All right, now, special ed teacher justification.
So this is what I started to say. Sorry.
All right.
Ben is not able to be here tonight because he's out sick. So I'm gonna postpone that to our next meeting so he can come and speak to this justification and transportation.
Okay. MS-22 signing.
Yes, the MS-22 is a report generated by the Department of Revenue Administration, and this happens after confirmation of which monetary articles have passed along with the vote counts. So these are numbers that were reflected from the original warrant articles. So I need a signature page to submit to the Department of Revenue Administration. If you'd be so kind as to sign that tonight. This has to be submitted by March 31st. So this is our opportunity.
You'll pass that around. Any questions on that? Yes. Carl?
I do have one question in that I noticed that the warrant article number 11, which provides for salaries for some people, including those in this room, did not state to raise and appropriate. I don't understand why that warrant article is even needed if the salaries are incorporated in the budget already. And if they weren't incorporated, then I'm not sure how we can do it without raising and appropriating. So I noticed in the MS-22 that Article 11 was not included in the total. And that's why I don't quite understand the warrant article itself. Was the money for the warrant article already in the budget?
Yes, it's in
But
warrant
you-
article
you
1.
didn't have it.
Correct.
So it's in the budget, then why do we have to have a warrant article at all?
I think, I would imagine, so the voters could prove the amounts.
But you didn't do raise and appropriation. You see, it's very, I've never seen it done this way, although I'm not in school district, I'm on the budget committee in Peterborough for some years, and I've never seen it. Where you have money approved that's already in the budget.
Go ahead.
I think it's a simple case of transparency, but I could be wrong.
Rob?
It seems you ought to ask for the money before you put it in. If you're going to ask.
Correct, but I think, yes, to Mr. Harper's point, it's more about transparency and seeing exactly the compensation that elected board members are getting.
John? Yes. Jim?
Yeah, Ann, could you do a little research on that, background on that? That's a good question, I never thought of it,
Sure.
I never thought of it that way. Why required taking
Will do.
Now, John.
So I noticed the last page in our packet is the after tax rate setting payment schedule for the 9 towns. Is that part of the MS 22? Does it get submitted with the MS 22?
No, it's not. It's separate.
Okay, because that's for last year. So my question is for the payment schedule for the current approved budget, when are we gonna receive the payment schedule for the new 25-26 budget that was just passed?
That will be in the fall.
Doesn't go into effect till July 1st.
Right.
We can't see it before, since we've already passed the budget? Is it not possible to have it? I mean, we're giving out the MS 22 to the state for next year's budget, so we obviously have already done all of that. I would think the payment schedule
Well, we
would
have-
be created, no? Okay.
No, because it's not set yet. Go ahead, Jim.
No, I think that, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you get the final tax rate is set in October, November, but there's a fiscal year 26 payment plan that comes out in May timeframe, May or June timeframe. Right? This one here just covers the end of this, it covers, if I'm reading this correctly, covers what, through June of this year. So the town payments due is in July 1st, will be published in April or May, I recall.
I will research this because my understanding was that you use the same payment amount from July to December because the tax rate is set when it comes out in November. And then you do a new schedule for January through June payments.
Carl.
And Rob,
Oops, hold on.
Didn't we get a number of questions from Carol or some other people on this particular tax payment schedule?
Yes, this is,
A correction on it?
yes,
Or
there's,
being reissued?
yes, this is a corrected version for the rest of the fiscal year.
All right, Kyle. Go ahead.
Although I understand this is last year's, we do have estimates from the state for the current year, even though they don't have all the data complete, because they have to do the equalization and figure out the SWIFT. But we do have estimates from them, which are the 2026 estimates were done in November. So the numbers that we have on that last page simply don't speak to next year's budget, the one that we're working on, but we do have estimates on it. And it's town by town. So I think perhaps we should maybe have the board see those for next meeting.
Certainly.
Okay. All right. We're now down to, this is second public comment. Do we still have public here that wish to comment? Go ahead. If you could step up, push the little button to make the green light come on.
Looks like it's green. You don't have to
And
push anything.
Okay.
let us know who you are and where you're from.
I'd love to. All right, my name is Sarah Featherstone, and I'm from Temple. And I'm here to give a character statement in support of Coach Davis. And my son has played on the football team for 3 years. He's done. So I just want to say we're here even though my son is leaving. Coach Davis has definitely impressed upon me a number of characteristics that I think are really important to consider. I think he's an excellent football coach, but I think really what he brings that makes him special, and I think really what you want to consider, is he also brings kindness and fairness to the field. And I think that really separates him in terms of the qualities that he's modeling for our kids. And I just really want to say that you can get other football coaches, but he really is a good role model. And I think when the kids show up to play football, it's a game, but these kids and the coaches have created a family. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in.
Thank you very much. Okay, we do have need for a non-public tonight. Can we have a motion to go into non-public session
I'd like to make,
for personnel?
in accordance with RSA 91A 3-2, I'd like to make a motion to go into non-public.
Second? Okay. All right, Tom?
Yay.
John Wood, yay.
Greg Kribel, yay.
Carl Mabzino, yay.
Dan Harper, yes. You want-
Curtis Hamilton, yes.
Larry and
Kat
Heather,
Poking,
can-
yes.
we want you to stop.
Okay.
Tom Burgess, yes.
Jim Kingston, yes.